wanted to follow up on Councilmember Casa-Constantinides' questions regarding waste basket, street litter, and graffiti removal. Every morning, I wake up, and every night I go to sleep to pictures of trash from constituents in my district.
On 86th Street.
On 86th Street. So will this $6.7 million help with this trash on 86th Street?
I don't have in front of me, I'm sorry, the plan. I assume yes, if they don't have already get Sunday baskets. It is only for Sunday and holiday baskets. That was what I was funded for.
Are there any places that receive basket collection twice a day? Because we're only getting it once.
Yes, there are places that get basket collection twice a day.
Can 86th Street receive basket collection twice a day?
I have to look at whether or not we're funded to do that. I can't expand baskets where I don't have another person to do it.
How many more people do you need to be able to cover my commercial district, Costa's commercial districts, and the districts throughout the neighborhood where we've started to have to launch bids or launch initiatives just to keep the things clean?
I'll be happy to get back to you about for your specific areas if you wanted basket service twice a day, what those costs would be.
I think just as a council, it's good that we've been putting up millions of dollars for the initiative, but I think what would be preferable is, do we need 100 more sanitation workers? Is it 200? What number gets us to a place where you have enough people to keep the streets clean on 86th Street and Costa's district and Steve's, in everyone's different commercial corridor without having to rely on bids for the basic services that people expect?
I mean, I think that we will always have a partnership with bids, the places that get 2 times pickup or sometimes in bids.
Yeah.
And it's still a challenge. I still think that there's a real opportunity. There's still a need to have that partnership there. Okay. But we can certainly get back to you on what that number looks like, and we can try and give it to you for your district, and then
and hopefully we can get it as part of the executive budget. Along those lines, just for perspective, I'm assuming Atlantic Avenue Barclays has twice a day pickup, as does Fulton Street.
I don't know off the top of my head. There, probably 300 or 400 baskets in those areas, so I'm not sure. So I don't know the answer to that. I can certainly get it for you. If I had my basket book in front of me, I would be able to tell you whether or not those baskets, how many times a day they were getting serviced.
If one of the legion of folks behind you happens to have it, it would be great. But I guess just by way of perspective,
there are many places in Manhattan that get multiple times a day pickup. Many places, like much more like Times Square, around Grand Central. They're getting basket service multiple times. So interestingly enough,
you mentioned Grand Central. East 86th Street and Lexington is number 9 as a subway station within the entire subway system, with 20.7 million riders in 2014. Grand Central is, I think, number 6 in the system. Atlantic Barclays is number 21. Fulton Street is actually number 11. So when you look at 86th Street and think it's just the Upper East Side, the comparable station is Penn Station. Penn Station, where I'm sure they get twice a day, at 8th Avenue is the same number of riders, I think give or take a couple 100,000, or 7th Avenue. So either one of those would be comparable to 86th Street. So,
well, I mean, we can look at whether or not we need to divert resources from other areas to your area.
That would be amazing, and then I could not see trash every day of my term.
You need to not watch your Twitter feed.
I can't help it. I have to pay attention to my constituents. Along the same lines, we've been focused a lot on ECB violations, which you were speaking about with the chair. Along those lines, those are quality of life violations for people who are frequent about leaving their trash out and not collecting it. We've been working on it. There's about $1.6 billion in uncollected debt, and we've been working with most of the agencies. We haven't had a chance to actually meet with your specific agency. We've met with almost every other ECB issuing agency. What can we do as a city to make sure that your violations get paid and improve the quality of life?
Lien sale.
So one of the bills we've proposed is Introduction 810, which would actually say every city agency that deals with the ECB or issues licenses, permits, or registrations would have to check everyone else to see whether or not there was outstanding quality of life violations before issuing, so that when somebody wants to renew their business license, they're like, you've got 55 sanitation ECB violations from DSNY, maybe you have to do something about curing that problem.
I'd appreciate that.
Perfect. Chair, if I may go over 5 minutes. I appreciate that greatly. The other piece is a little bit sad. I was at the Homes Towers Association last night, and when I got there, I learned that one of the tenants in the building was crossing the street at 92nd and First and was hit by a garbage truck. So at 92nd and First, between August 2011 and February 2014, there were 93 people who were in 48 collisions. At 91st and First, there were 66 people in 33 collisions. And so as we're building, well, as you are building a marine transfer station there, how do we make sure that nobody dies from getting hit by a garbage truck, which is one of the most dangerous vehicles on the road?
Right, no, certainly, I did hear about that tragedy of the private sanitation vehicle and the woman who I guess was hit very, very early, I think Monday morning. And certainly we take safety very, very, I think it's extraordinarily important, and we know how sensitive the community is that you represent about safety in that area. We are doing a lot of things as a department to try and make the department safer. We put all of our employees through defensive driving last year. We are adding side guards to all of our vehicles. One of the most dangerous things for pedestrians is to get pulled in under the back wheels, so that doesn't happen. We've already installed a great many of these, and we are moving forward to have them installed on even more vehicles as soon as we get in the parts. And, you know, we will look to continue to listen to the community about what more can be done.
I guess the concern here is these are streets that even before this happened were identified as dangerous. We did a dangerous streets report. These are streets that, it's a corridor, First Avenue, that DOT is looking at as a priority corridor because of the number of accidents and deaths that we're seeing. And this location is actually going to have for-profit private carders driving through it, much like the one that hit a woman yesterday morning and killed her. And so I guess, is a residential side street, 91st Street, the right place to have trucks driving when they're going to be interfacing with 2,278 residents of a NYCHA development just right there within a block?
Are you talking about 92nd or 91st Street?
I'm doing my best to focus on 91st, where that is the current site of it, but within the whole region, 91st Street, which you will be operating on for several years, is dangerous. 92nd is also dangerous, but part of the reason it's so dangerous is this is the densest census tract in the country. This is why we built the 2nd Avenue subway. So I guess the concern just being with so many thousands of people living there, it's already started, and we don't even have 200 to 300 trucks coming every day.
Right.
So I guess, is this still the right place to put a garbage
This is
dump?
still the right place for us to be citing and supporting the solid waste management plan. Just for a little bit of clarity, and it's I don't think will be satisfying to you, but the trucks won't be actually physically on 91st Street because it's not they're going to be coming up from the south, from 86th, and coming up York into the facility because that's the truck route. So
Fixed rate. I guess
I know it's not completely a truck route for the whole length, but I think that was what was determined.
Currently, sanitation has said that you'll put a flagger in front of the entrance. As we can see, the danger is actually the vicinity anywhere there's a turn. Would you put flaggers at every single turn leading into it? And I guess the bigger question, which is a tough question I have to ask, is just how many people need to get injured, how many lives need to get lost before you say, you know what, people, humans, children, seniors, NYCHA residents can't be in the same place as a 300 truck a day route.
I mean, one of the things that I understand your concerns, and we have committed to putting a pedestrian crossing guard there at the bottom of the ramp. We actually today are operating a facility that has to cross a bike lane on the west side every day. And so, you know, this is something that we have to work around. There are not a lot of places for my sites that are far, far away. And that's just, you can't hide me. And, you know, the same is true, and that people don't want my garages anywhere until I guess they get written up in Architectural Digest.
I liked having your garage in my district. I will if you want to turn the 91st Street Marine Transfer Station into a garage, my
It's
community
not big
accepts
enough.
it.
It's not big enough, but okay. No, we need infrastructure. We need waste infrastructure, and I understand that it's challenging, but we do operate in some sites where it is already very difficult, to deal with the west side and their bike lane, which is crazy.
That's a bike lane versus residence. I guess the last piece in wrapping up, and thank you, Chair Reynoso, for the time, is we've now announced zero by 30. We will hit zero waste. We will stop using landfill. So this is a marine transfer to transfer to transfer to transfer to transfer station to landfill. Once we are done with landfill and processable waste, 14 years from now, what happens to this station?
So the one thing, can I do maybe a little bit of happy news for you? DDC has selected the designer for the 92nd Street ramp, and that contract is currently at the controllers. So that is moving, because I know there have been questions of the commitment to see that through. And so then more broadly, there are a lot of pieces to getting to zero waste to landfills by 2030 that are not in place yet. And we need to be able to make sure we have the infrastructure to move waste that we are creating today, because there's no storage in the city of New York. It's the curb. And just one small correction, your waste will not be going to landfill. It goes to a waste-to-energy facility from 91st Street. That contract's in place with Covanta.
And so is waste to energy within the confines? So as long as we incinerate all of our waste, we meet zero waste? Or are we actually trying to get to 100% diversion and trying to recycle and
I mean, it is always part of the pie is to consider other uses that could turn it into energy. And even with organics, we're trying to turn that into energy with anaerobic digestion. But we certainly are pushing all of our diversion programs across the city evenly. And as you may have heard earlier, some of our programs have a lot more uptake for apartment building owners than for people who live in single-family homes. But we're trying to make it so that you have all the tools to put me out of business.
That is great, and along those lines, my understanding is my entire district, because of how many schools are participating in organics collection, qualifies for organics pickup and participation?
All of the schools in your neighborhood should be in the organics program.
Which means all the buildings could participate?
All the buildings have to do is apply, and we'll add them to the routes as they apply.
Great, so we're doing an Earth Day event in my district, and we'd love to have Department of Sanitation do a presentation on how buildings can get organics collection as well as electronics recycling on site.
And refashion.
And what?
And textiles.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair.